Jordan Ellis, a towering black man in a worn hoodie, strolls into Hamilton Prestige Motors in Atlanta's glitzy Buckhead. Manager Madeline Burke smirks, sizing him up as a broke nobody. He asks about a $200,000 Range Rover. She snaps, "We don't waste time on dreamers." Jordan's steady gaze sharpens with a chilling edge. As she turns away, he mutters, "You'll regret that," flashing a black Centurion card. The room stills, her smugness cracks. She's just crossed the wrong man. What's he planning next? Before we dive in, tell us where you're watching from, and if you stand for justice. Hit like and subscribe for more stories that hit hard. Jordan Ellis stood in the gleaming showroom of Hamilton Prestige Motors, the black Centurion card still warm in his palm from the reveal that had silenced the room. The air buzzed with the hum of luxury, leather seats glistening under soft lights, polished chrome reflecting wealth like a mirror. Madeline Burke, the manager with her platinum blonde hair pulled tight into a bun, recovered fast from his bombshell. Her lips curled into a thin, defiant line, and her pale blue eyes narrowed as if she could will him back into the box she'd shoved him into. A nobody, a fraud, a man who didn't belong among the elite. She adjusted her silk blazer, the diamond bracelet on her wrist catching the light, and stepped closer, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. "That's a nice card," she said, her voice dripping with skepticism, "but we have standards here. I'll need proof of income before we even discuss a sale." Jordan tilted his head, his broad shoulders relaxed under the faded navy hoodie, but his deep brown eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that made her throat tighten. For a split second, "Proof of income," he echoed, his tone smooth as velvet yet edged with something she couldn't place. "I just told you I'd pay cash, full price, $200,000 right now." His words hung there, bold and unyielding, a challenge she hadn't expected from someone she'd already dismissed as a broke dreamer. Around them, the showroom staff shifted uneasily. Greg, a lanky sales associate with a mop of brown curls, hovered near a display of key fobs, his hazel eyes darting between Jordan and Madeline. He'd seen her gatekeep before, brushing off folks who didn't fit her mold, but this felt different. Jordan wasn't flinching. Madeline crossed her arms, her manicured nails tapping against her elbow. "Cash," she said, letting out a short, hollow laugh that echoed off the glass walls. "I'm sure you think that sounds impressive, but we don't just hand over keys to anyone who walks in waving a fancy card. You could have borrowed that from a friend for all I know." Her words cut sharp, meant to sting, to put him back in his place. She glanced at a white customer across the room, an older guy in a crisp gray suit browsing a Bentley Continental, and nodded warmly at him. The contrast was blatant. Him she'd roll out the red carpet for, Jordan she'd kick to the curb. "What's your occupation?" she pressed, tilting her chin up. "Where's this cash coming from?" "Because I've been in this game 20 years, and I can spot a bluffer from a mile away." Jordan slipped the card back into his pocket, his movements slow and deliberate, like a predator sizing up prey. "You didn't answer my question," he said, his voice steady, unshaken. "I asked if cash changes your little test drive policy. You're stalling." His calm rattled her more than any outburst could have. She'd dealt with hotheads before, guys who'd yell or storm out, but this man just stood there, unshakable, peeling back her control layer by layer. Greg swallowed hard, pretending to adjust a brochure on the desk, but his ears were glued to the exchange. He wanted to speak up, tell her to ease off, but he'd seen her fire people for less. "Stalling," Madeline snapped, her composure slipping just enough for her voice to spike. "I'm protecting this dealership's reputation. You think you can waltz in here, dressed like that?" She gestured at his scuffed sneakers and jeans, "and demand a $200,000 car? This isn't a charity. We cater to serious buyers only." Her words landed like a slap, and a few employees nearby froze, their hands pausing over keyboards or coffee cups. The white guy in the suit glanced over, curious now, his bushy eyebrows lifting as he took in Jordan's casual getup. Madeline seized the moment, turning to him with a dazzling smile. "Mr. Reynolds, I'll be right with you. Just sorting out a little misunderstanding here." Jordan's jaw tightened, a muscle twitching beneath his dark skin, but his expression stayed cool. Almost a misunderstanding, he repeated, letting the word roll off his tongue like he was tasting it. So let me get this straight. I've got the money, I've got the card, but I'm still not serious enough for you. What's the cutoff? Madeline, what does a buyer have to look like to get past your desk? His question sliced through her bravado, exposing the ugly truth she wouldn't say out loud. It wasn't about money, it was about him. His blackness, his hoodie, his quiet confidence. They didn't fit her picture of wealth, and she hated him for it. She bristled, her smile vanishing, replaced by a hard glare. Don't twist my words, she shot back, stepping closer so her perfume, sharp and floral, hit him like a wall. I've seen plenty of people like you come in here, thinking they can play the part. They waste my time, they waste my staff's time, and I'm not about to let that happen again. Serious buyers bring proof. End of story. Her voice rose, drawing more eyes. Greg shifted his weight, his sneakers squeaking faintly on the floor. He'd seen her pull this proof line before, but only with certain customers, never the white ones in tailored suits. It wasn't policy, it was her power trip, and Jordan was calling her bluff. Then let's make it simple, Jordan said, his tone dropping lower, a quiet storm brewing beneath it. I'll write you a check, right here, right now. $200,000, no financing, no hoops. You gonna tell me that's not serious? He reached into his back pocket, pulling out a slim leather checkbook, the kind you don't see every day, embossed with a subtle gold logo. He flipped it open, pen poised, and looked her dead in the eye. The room seemed to shrink, the air thickening with anticipation. Greg's mouth went dry. Even the Bentley guy, Mr. Reynolds, stopped, pretending to browse, and stared openly now. Madeline's lips parted, a flicker of doubt crossing her face, but she clamped down on it fast. A check, she said, forcing another laugh, this one shakier than before. You think I'm naive enough to take a check from some random guy off the street? For all I know, it'll bounce higher than a basketball. She waved a hand dismissively, but her fingers trembled slightly, betraying her. She couldn't back down now, not with her staff watching, not with her pride on the line. You're not getting a test drive, you're not getting a car, and frankly, you're wasting my afternoon. Jordan closed the checkbook with a soft snap, sliding it back into his pocket. Wasting your afternoon, he said, nodding slowly, like he was filing that away for later. All right, you're the boss here, right? You call the shots. His words were polite, but the way he said them, the way his eyes bored into hers, sent a shiver down Greg's spine. It wasn't surrender, it was a warning, a coiled snake ready to strike. Madeline didn't see it though. She smirked, thinking she'd won, her shoulders squaring as she turned toward Mr. Reynolds, already dismissing Jordan from her world. Look, she said over her shoulder, her tone sugary again, if you wanted to browse, go ahead. But I've got real customers to tend to. She strutted toward the Bentley, her heels clicking triumphantly, leaving Jordan standing there, alone in the middle of the showroom. The white guy nodded at her approach, eager for her attention, while Jordan watched her go, his hands slipping into his pockets. Greg caught his eye for a split second and saw it a glint, cold and sharp, like a blade being sharpened. You're digging your own grave, lady, Jordan muttered under his breath, so low only Greg heard it. Madeline kept walking, oblivious, her laughter ringing out as she chatted up Mr. Reynolds. She thought she'd put Jordan in his place, but Greg's gut twisted. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Jordan turned, his sneakers silent on the marble, and headed toward the row of gleaming SUVs again, his fingers brushing the hood of a Mercedes G-Class. He didn't storm out, didn't raise his voice, just moved with that same deliberate calm that made Greg's skin prickle. Madeline might have won this round in her head, but Jordan wasn't playing her game. He was setting up his own, and whatever came next, Greg knew one thing for damn sure. She'd regret laughing in this man's face. The air felt heavier now, like a storm rolling in slow and unstoppable, and Jordan Ellis was the thunder about to break it. Wide open, Jordan Ellis stood near the Mercedes G-Class, his calloused fingers tracing the chrome grille as the showroom buzzed around him. Madeline Burke's laughter still echoed from the far end, where she fawned over Mr. Reynolds, her voice a syrupy hum-pitching the Bentley's horsepower like a love song. She thought she'd dismissed Jordan, sent him packing with her smug rules and razor-sharp jabs, but he wasn't done, not even close. His Centurion card burned a hole in his pocket, a quiet promise of the reckoning he'd bring. He turned back toward the Range Rover autobiography, its sleek black curves gleaming under the showroom lights like a panther ready to pounce, and caught Greg's eye. The sales associate flinched, his freckled cheeks paling, but Jordan just nodded, a silent signal. "Watch this." He strode back to Madeline, his steps steady, cutting through the polished chaos of the dealership. She was mid-sentence, raving about leather upholstery to the suited white guy, when Jordan's shadow fell over her. "I'm still interested," he said, his voice low and firm. Slicing her pitch in half, she froze, her neck stiffening, then turned slowly, her smile curdling into something brittle. "Excuse me," she said, blinking rapidly, like he was a fly she'd already swatted. Mr. Reynolds adjusted his tie, peering over her shoulder with mild curiosity, his silver hair catching the light. "The Range Rover," Jordan clarified, pointing a thumb at the SUV. "You wanted proof. Here it is." He pulled out the Centurion card again, holding it up between two fingers, its matte black surface swallowing the glare. Madeline's lips twitched, a flicker of panic darting across her face before she smothered it with a tight chuckle. "I told you," she said, her tone clipped. "We need more than a card. This isn't a game." But her eyes lingered on it, the weight of that exclusive plastic sinking in. Greg edged closer, clutching a clipboard like a shield, his gut telling him this was about to blow up. Jordan didn't blink. "You said serious buyers get service." He pressed, stepping into her space just enough to make her shift back. "This card's tied to an account with more than enough to cover your little autobiography model. Call American Express, verify it. Or are you scared I'm calling your bluff?" Her jaw tightened, the diamond bracelet glinting as she crossed her arms again, but the room was watching now. Mr. Reynolds cleared his throat, intrigued, while a receptionist with a tight ponytail peeked over her monitor. Madeline couldn't dodge this one, not with an audience. "Fine," she snapped, snatching the card from his hand like it burned her. "If you're so insistent, we'll do a test drive. But don't think this means anything." She spun toward Greg, thrusting the card at him. "Run it. Make sure it's real." Greg fumbled it, nearly dropping it, then scurried to the back office, his sneakers squeaking like a mouse fleeing a cat. Minutes later, he returned, his face a shade whiter. "It's legit," he mumbled, handing the card back to Jordan. "Cleared. For way more than 100,000. Madeline's smile faltered, a crack in her armor, but she rallied fast. "All right," she said, forcing her voice to steady. "You get your test drive." Happy now, she grabbed a key fob from a locked drawer, tossing it to him with a flick of her wrist, like she was throwing scraps to a stray. Jordan caught it midair, his grip firm, and headed for the Range Rover without a word. The engine purred to life as he slid inside, the sound deep and commanding, drowning out her muttered, "This better not take long." Out on the sun-baked streets of Buckhead, Jordan handled the SUV like he was born behind its wheel. The leather gripped his hands, the dashboard lit up with tech that hummed under his touch, and he weaved through traffic with a precision that turned heads. He took a sharp corner onto Peachtree Road, the tires hugging the asphalt, then gunned it past a row of glass towers, the speedometer climbing fast. For 20 minutes, he owned that car, proving he wasn't just some dreamer she couldn't deny he belonged in it. Back at the dealership, he parked smooth as silk, stepping out with a faint smirk that made Greg's pulse jump. Madeline waited by the door, arms folded, her lips a flat line. "Satisfied?" she asked, her tone ice cold. "Yeah," Jordan said, tossing the fob back to her. "I'll take it. Draw up the papers." Her eyebrows shot up, but she covered it with a curt nod. "Fine, give me your info, and we'll get it started." She led him to her desk, her heels clicking harder now, like she was stomping out her own doubts. Jordan rattled off his details: name, address, a P.O. box in Midtown, his voice calm, almost bored, while she typed furiously, her fingers slamming the keys. Greg hovered nearby, pretending to organize brochures, but he saw the shift in her posture. The way her shoulders hunched slightly. She didn't like this, didn't like him winning. But she couldn't back out now. The paperwork took shape. A sales contract spitting out of the printer with a sharp whine. She slid it across the desk, her pen tapping impatiently. "Sign here," she said. Pointing at the dotted line, Jordan scanned it, his eyes flicking over the numbers to $100,000. Plus tax, no financing, and signed with a quick, confident stroke. "Done," he said, pushing it back. Madeline snatched it up, her victory smirk creeping back. She'd sell the car, pocket her commission, and still prove she was in control. "I'll process this," she said, standing to file it away. "Should be ready by tomorrow." Jordan nodded, rising too, his height casting a shadow over her desk. "Good," he said, and walked out, the glass doors swinging shut behind him. But Madeline wasn't about to let him have the last word. Alone in her office later, she stared at the contract, her manicured nail tracing his signature. She'd lost ground today, and that gnawed at her like a splinter. She picked up her phone, dialing a number she knew by heart, a cop named Terry, a burly guy with a buzz cut who owed her favors. "Hey," she said when he answered, her voice low. "Got a guy who just left here. Jordan Ellis. Driving a black Range Rover Autobiography. Might be worth a stop." She leaned back, a sly grin spreading. "Just check him out, yeah." Terry grunted agreement, and she hung up, satisfied. Let him think he'd won, she'd bury him yet. Jordan was barely 3 miles away, cruising down Piedmont Avenue, when red and blue lights flashed in his rear view. A squad car pulled him over, gravel crunching under his tires as he eased onto the shoulder. Officer Terry loomed outside his window, badge glinting in the late afternoon sun. "Step out." Terry barked, his hand resting on his holster. "This vehicle's reported stolen." Jordan's stomach tightened, but his face stayed stone cold. "Stolen?" he said, stepping onto the pavement, hands raised slow and steady. "I just signed for it." "Check the dealership." Terry smirked, snapping cuffs on him. "Tell it to the judge, pal." Madeline watched from her office window as the squad car hauled Jordan away, the Range Rover left abandoned on the roadside. Her grin widened, a predator's gleam in her eyes. She'd outsmarted him, turned his little victory into a public humiliation. The contract, she'd lose it in the system, claim he never paid. By the time he sorted this out, he'd be too broke or broken to fight back. She sipped her coffee, the bitter taste matching her mood, and leaned back in her chair. He'd learn not to cross her, except Jordan wasn't the type to fold, and she'd just lit a fuse she couldn't snuff out. Jordan Ellis stood on the cracked asphalt of Piedmont Avenue, wrists bound tight in steel cuffs, the late afternoon sun baking his skin as Officer Terry loomed over him. The Range Rover Autobiography sat abandoned a few feet away, its glossy black finish now a silent witness to Madeline Burke's latest move. Terry, a beefy cop with a shaved head and a smirk that screamed trouble, yanked Jordan toward the squad car. "Move it," he growled, shoving him hard enough to make his shoulders slam against the door. Frame, red and blue lights pulsed, drawing a crowd, folks in pressed suits and yoga pants pulling out phones, filming the dangerous black thief getting nabbed. Jordan kept his head high, his deep brown eyes scanning the faces, locking onto a teenage girl with braids who hesitated, her camera shaking. He didn't flinch, didn't shout, just let the scene play out. "Stolen, huh?" Jordan said, his voice steady as granite despite the cuffs biting into his skin. "I signed the papers 30 minutes ago. Call Hamilton Prestige Motors, ask for Madeline Burke." Terry snorted, slamming the car door shut after tossing him into the back seat. "Yeah, sure you did, buddy. That's what they all say." The cop slid into the driver's seat, radio crackling as he called it in. "Got a suspect, male, mid-40s, black, claiming he owns the SUV, running it now." The response came fast, dispatch confirming the Range Rover was flagged stolen. Filed 10 minutes ago. Jordan's jaw clenched. Madeline hadn't just set him up. She'd moved at lightning speed, weaving a trap tighter than he'd expected. Back at the dealership, Madeline leaned against her office window, a smug curl on her lips as she watched the squad car vanish around the corner. The contract Jordan signed sat crumpled in her trash. bin replaced by a fake report she'd slipped into the system, unpaid, unprocessed, a ghost sale. She'd called Terry the second Jordan left, spinning a tale about a suspicious buyer who'd tried to drive off without paying. Terry didn't ask questions he never did. She'd bailed his cousin out of a DUI years back, and he'd been her muscle ever since, sipping her coffee, now cold and bitter. She imagined Jordan sweating in a cell, his fancy card useless. Should have stayed in your lane, she muttered, turning back to her desk, already plotting how to spin this. To her staff, the precinct was a concrete box, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead as Terry dragged Jordan inside. The booking officer, a weary guy with a patchy beard, barely looked up from his screen. Name? He barked. Jordan Ellis, he answered. Calm as ever, though his pulse thumped hard in his ears, Terry smirked, tossing the stolen car's keys onto the counter. Caught him red-handed. Dealership says he never paid. Jordan leaned forward, his voice cutting through the stale air. That's a lie. I signed the contract. Check my card, American Express Centurion. Call them. I've got a lawyer on. Speed dial 2. The booking guy hesitated, glancing at Terry, but the cop waved it off. Save it for court. Genius. You're not talking your way out of this. They shoved him into a holding cell, the iron bars clanging shut with a hollow ring. The space reeked of sweat and bleach, a flickering bulb casting shadows on the graffiti-scarred walls. Jordan sat on the metal bench, elbows on his knees, mind racing. Madeline hadn't just called in a favor, she'd rigged the game, and he was the fall guy. The crowd's videos were probably viral by now, hashtags like #BUCKHEAD thief, branding him a criminal before he could blink. He rubbed his wrists where the cuffs had chafed, feeling the weight of her move. She thought this would break him, scare him off. She didn't know who she was dealing with. Hours crawled by, the precinct humming with late shift chaos drunks, yelling, phones ringing, cops laughing over stale donuts. Then the booking guy appeared, a stack of papers in hand, his brow furrowed. Ran your name, he said, scratching his neck. Got some priors popping up. Assault, theft, couple of duas. You're a busy guy, Ellis. Jordan's head snapped up, his eyes narrowing. That's bullshit, he said, standing slow, his 6'3" frame filling the cell. I've never been arrested in my life. Check again, the guy shrugged, tossing the file through the bars. System says otherwise. Bail's denied. Judge'll see you tomorrow. Jordan snatched the papers, scanning them. Fake charges. Dates he'd been working 60-hour weeks. Addresses he'd never lived at. Madeline's fingerprints were all over this, a forged rap sheet to bury him deeper. Outside, the night thickened, Atlanta's skyline glowing through the precinct's grimy windows. Madeline was home by now, sprawled on her leather couch in a Buckhead condo, scrolling X on her phone. The videos were everywhere. Jordan cuffed, shoved, humiliated, racking up thousands of likes. Serves him right, she typed under a clip, her anonymous account blending into the hate. She cracked open a bottle of Pinot, savoring the win. He'd rot in that cell, his story to tangle to unravel by morning. She'd lost the contract. The dealership's system would back her up, and Terry'd swear he'd caught a thief. Checkmate. But Jordan wasn't waiting for checkmate. In the cell, he fished a burner phone from his sock, a trick he'd learned years back. Always prepared for the worst, he punched in a number, keeping his voice low as footsteps echoed down the hall. Malik, he said when the line picked up. It's me. Precinct on Piedmont. Framed for theft. Fake priors. Need you here now. Malik Jackson. A bulldog of an attorney with a shaved head and a scar over his left eye, didn't waste words. On it, he growled, already grabbing his keys. Sit tight. The call cut, and Jordan tucked the phone away, leaning back against the cold wall. Madeline thought she'd caged him. She'd just unleashed him. Malik stormed into the precinct at dawn, a 6-foot wall of fury in a tailored suit, his briefcase slamming onto the counter like a gavel. Jordan Ellis. He barked at the bleary-eyed desk sergeant. Where is he? I'm his counsel. The sergeant blinked, fumbling through files as Malik loomed, his voice a low rumble. You've got a man in there on fabricated charges. I want his arrest report, the complainant's statement, and every scrap of evidence you're holding. Now, Terry swaggered over, arms crossed, but Malik didn't flinch. "You the one who nabbed him?" he asked, eyes like daggers. "Better. Hope your story's airtight, officer, 'cause I'm about to tear it apart." Within hours, Malik had the report thin as tissue, riddled with holes. The stolen flag traced back to Madeline's call, no contract on record, but Jordan's. Centurion transactions showed a pending $200,000 hold. From Hamilton Prestige Motors, Malik marched into the captain's office, slamming the proof down. "This is a setup," he said, his voice booming. "My client's clean, and your cop's dirty. Release him, or I'll have the DA crawling up your ass by noon." The captain, a graying man with a coffee-stained tie, sighed, rubbing his temples. "Cut him loose," he muttered to Terry, who scowled but complied. Jordan walked out at 10 in the morning, the sun blinding after a night in the dark. Malik clapped his shoulder, grinning. "Told you I'd get you out." Jordan nodded, but his face was stone, his mind already racing ahead. The cuffs were off, the charges dust, but Madeline's smug face burned in his vision. She'd tried to break him with the system, thought she'd won with her cop pal and fake files. He rubbed his wrists, still red from the steel, and started walking back to Buckhead. She gloated from her window, sipping her victory. Now it was his turn, and he'd hit her where it hurt most, right in her kingdom. Jordan Ellis stepped out of the precinct into the blinding Atlanta sun, his sneakers crunching on gravel as the heavy door clanged shut behind him. The air smelled of exhaust and freedom, a sharp contrast to the stale cell he'd stewed in all night. Malik Jackson, his attorney, stood beside him, a towering figure in a slate-gray suit, his scarred eyebrow arched in triumph. "Told you I'd spring you," Malik said, clapping Jordan's shoulder with a meaty hand. Jordan nodded, rubbing his wrists where the cuffs had left faint red rings, his dark eyes scanning the street. The charges had collapsed Madeline Burke's flimsy setup shredded by Malik's bulldog tactics, but victory tasted sour. She was still out there, probably smirking in her cushy office, thinking she'd gotten away with it. Not for long. He hitched a ride with Malik back to Buckhead, the city blurring past in streaks of glass and steel. "She framed me with fake priors," Jordan said, his voice low, simmering. "Called her cop buddy to snag me. That's not just petty, that's war." Malik nodded, gripping the wheel of his BMW tighter. "We've got her call logged to Terry, the pending charge on your card. She's sloppy. We can sue her into next year." Jordan stared out the window, the Range Rovers, abandoned spot flashing by, now towed to some impound lot. "Lawsuit's a start," he muttered, "but I want her face to face first." What do you think? Should Jordan go for blood right away, or play it cool and let her dig deeper? Drop a 1 in the comments if you say strike now too, if you think he should wait her out. They pulled up to Hamilton Prestige Motors just past noon, the showroom's glass facade glinting like a fortress. Jordan stepped out, his faded hoodie and jeans a stark rebellion against the polished luxury inside. Heads turned as he marched through the doors. Greg, the sales associate, froze mid-conversation with a customer, his clipboard slipping an inch. Madeline sat at her mahogany desk, typing with a smug little hum, her platinum bun gleaming under the lights. She didn't see him at first, too wrapped in her bubble of control. But when he stopped 5 feet from her, his shadow swallowing her desk, her fingers stalled. "You," she breathed, her pale blue eyes widening before narrowing fast. What are you doing here? Ever wonder how far someone will go to save their own skin? Comment 3 if you think Madeline's about to lie her way out again. "I'm here to clear my name," Jordan said, his voice a blade, cutting through her fake surprise. He pulled out his phone, hitting play on a recording, Terry's gruff voice crackling through. "Yeah, Maddie, got your guy. Stolen SUV, right?" Her face drained of color, her diamond bracelet clinking as her hand twitched. "That's not real," she stammered, but Greg piped up from behind, his voice shaky. "It's true. I heard you call him yesterday. Told him to check the car." The room went still, employees peeking over cubicles, a receptionist's pen hovering mid-signature. Madeline's head snapped toward Greg, her glare venomous. "You're lying," she hissed, but the tremble in her voice sold her out. "What's worse, getting caught red-handed or watching your own team turn?" Hit 4 in the comments if you think Greg just sealed her fate. Jordan leaned in, his 6'3" frame towering over her desk. You set me up, faked a theft, planted priors, had me cuffed on the street. I've got the proof, your call, my card, the contract you lost. I could see you blind right now. His words landed like punches, each one stripping her smugness. Bare, Madeline's mouth opened, then closed, her brain scrambling for footing. I didn't mean, she started, then shifted gears, her voice softening, pleading. Look, this got out of hand. It's just business, okay? I'll fix it. Void the theft report. Get your car back. No need to escalate. Her eyes darted to Greg, then the staff, begging them to stay quiet. Should Jordan trust her to back off? Or is she just buying time? Drop a 5 below if you think she's still plotting. He straightened, folding his arms, letting her squirm under his stare. Fix it, he said, a bitter laugh escaping. You think that erases dragging me through the mud? You're done here. Madeline, I'm taking this to corporate. Your ass is fired. Her mask slipped, panic flashing as she stood, her chair scraping loud against the marble. You can't do that, she snapped, voice rising. I've run this place for years, my word against yours, and I've got friends who'll back me. She was grasping now, her control unraveling, but Jordan walked away, leaving her fuming. He'd won this round, or so he thought. Does power really protect the guilty? Or is Madeline's bluff about to collapse? Comment 6 if you believe her connections will save her. That night, Madeline didn't sleep. She paced her condo, wineglass trembling in her hand as she dialed her old boss, Clarence Holt, a 60-something exec with a silver mane and a corner office at Hamilton's headquarters. Clarence, she said, her voice a tight whisper, some guy's threatening to sue me, says I framed him. He's got a recording, but I need this buried. Clarence sighed, his bourbon-soaked drawl crackling through. Madeline, you're a damn fool. Who is he? She hesitated, then lied. Just a customer, nobody big. Clarence grunted. Fine, I'll handle his lawyer, make it disappear. But you owe me, she exhaled, relief flooding her, and hung up, smirking into the dark. Jordan thought he'd cornered her, but she'd just bought herself a lifeline. How far will loyalty stretch before it snaps? Hit 7 if you think Clarence is her ticket out. Next morning, Jordan got the call from Malik while sipping coffee at a diner. The smell of grease thick in the air. Bad news, Malik said, his tone grim. My office got a notice some suit named Holt fired me from your case. Claims conflict of interest, but it's bullshit. He's got pull, Jordan, and he's covering for her. Jordan's grip tightened on the mug, coffee sloshing over the rim, his taste of freedom. That sweet moment of pinning Madeline to the wall vaporized. She'd rallied the old boys club, the kind of white-collar muscle that crushed guys like him without blinking. She's not just fighting, he said, voice low. She's rewriting the game. Malik cursed. We'll regroup, find another angle. But she's got teeth now. Who really runs the show when the system's stacked? Comment 8 if you're raging at this twist. Jordan slammed cash on the table and stepped outside, the humid air sticking to his skin. His win exposing her, watching her bag had been snatched away by a phone call. Clarence Holt wasn't just her boss, he was the machine. The kind of guy who'd squash a lawsuit before it hit daylight. Madeline wasn't scrambling anymore. She was armed, dangerous, and coming for round 2. Jordan cracked his knuckles, staring toward Buckhead's skyline where her kingdom waited. She thought she'd outplayed him, turned his evidence to dust. But he wasn't backing down. He'd hit harder, smarter, and soon. What's it take to topple a giant when they've got the world on their payroll? Drop a like if you're rooting for Jordan to burn it all down, and subscribe for the next chapter of this fight. So, what's cooking in Jordan's head now that Madeline's pulled the big guns? Will he storm back with a new plan, or has her power play pushed him too far to recover? Could he dig up dirt on Clarence, or is he walking into a trap she's already set? Picture him standing there, fists clenched, the city humming around him. What's his next move? When the old boys club just slammed the door in his face. Hit us with your guesses below, because this showdown's about to explode. Jordan Ellis stood outside the diner, the taste of spilled coffee still bitter on his tongue. The humid Atlanta air pressing against his skin like a damp cloth. Madeline Burke's latest move, 6ing Clarence, hold on his lawyer had ripped, his victory out from under him, leaving him stranded in a war he'd thought he was winning. His phone buzzed in his pocket. A text from Malik. "Holt's untouchable. We need a new play." Jordan's fists clenched, knuckles popping as he stared toward Buckhead's skyline, where Hamilton Prestige Motors loomed like a glass castle. She'd turned his evidence into a ghost. But he wasn't empty-handed. Not yet. He pulled up the recording of Greg's confession, her call to Terry, clear as day, and hit send to a secure email he'd set up months ago. A backup for moments like this. Madeline wanted a fight. She'd get one. He took a bus back to the dealership, the rumble of the engine matching the storm brewing in his chest. Stepping off onto Peachtree Road, he adjusted his hoodie, the fabric worn but defiant, and marched straight through the glass doors of Hamilton Prestige. The showroom buzzed, customers sipping espresso, staff polishing chrome, but it all hushed. When Jordan's shadow hit the marble floor, Greg looked up from a stack of sales logs, his hazel eyes widening, while Madeline sat at her desk, mid-call, her platinum bun glinting under the lights. She froze when she saw him, her phone slipping an inch as her smug mask cracked. "Hang up," Jordan said, his voice a low growl that carried across the room. She hesitated, then muttered, "I'll call you back," and set the receiver down, her fingers trembling faintly. "You think you're slick," Jordan started, planting his hands on her desk, leaning in so close he could smell her floral perfume. "Firing my lawyer, burying my case. But I've got Greg's voice on tape. I heard you call Terry." "That's you, Madeline, setting me up. I sent it to corporate 10 minutes ago." Her face went ashen, her lips parting but no sound coming out. Greg shuffled closer, his sneakers scuffing the floor, guilt etched into his freckled cheeks. "I told him the truth," he mumbled, avoiding her glare. "You can't deny it now." The air thickened. Employees pausing mid-task, a junior salesman named Jared clutching a key fob like it'd protect him from the fallout. Madeline's brain kicked into overdrive, her eyes darting to the staff, then back to Jordan. "That's nonsense," she snapped, standing to reclaim her height, her silk blazer rustling. "Greg's lying. He's been after my job for months. That recording's fake, edited, whatever. Corporate won't buy it." Her voice climbed, sharp and desperate, but Jordan didn't budge. "They'll buy it when they hear Terry's voice too," he said, pulling his phone out and playing the clip again, louder this time. "Yeah, Maddie, got your guy," echoed through the showroom, undeniable. A customer in a pinstripe suit flinched, stepping back, while Madeline's knees wobbled for a split second before she caught herself. She pivoted fast, her mind spinning a new web. "Greg's unreliable," she said, turning to the staff, her tone pleading now. "He's botched sales, missed quotas, you all know it. He's framing me to save himself." Greg's jaw dropped, his clipboard clattering to the floor. "That's not true," he protested. But she waved him off, zeroing in on Jordan. "And you're just some guy with a grudge. Corporate trusts me. I've got 20 years here. Deals you couldn't dream of closing." She was flailing, her lies piling up. But then her phone buzzed, a text from Clarence. "Server crash at HQ. Your evidence is gone. Sit tight." Her smirk crept back, a lifeline from her old boys' club. Jordan saw the shift, the way her shoulders squared and his stomach twisted. "What's so funny?" he asked, stepping closer. She tilted her chin up, triumphant. "Your little recording. It's dust. Technical glitch at corporate server. Went down this morning." "Oops." She shrugged, her diamond bracelet flashing as she crossed her arms. "Guess you've got nothing now." The words hit like a sucker punch, but Jordan's face stayed stone, his mind racing. Clarence had pulled strings, torched his proof in some digital bonfire. Greg stammered. "But I heard her. I'll testify." Madeline laughed, brittle and cold. "Testify to what? A ghost file? Good luck, kid." She wasn't done. Hours later, Jordan sat in a midtown coffee shop, nursing a black coffee, when his phone lit up with notifications. X was exploding, posts screaming Jordan Ellis, fraud exposed, linking to articles claiming he'd forged documents to scam the dealership. Photos of him in cuffs from the arrest went viral again, captioned with slurs and lies. "Thief. Tried to con luxury motors." His name trended, a digital lynch mob tearing him apart. He scrolled, jaw tight, spotting an anonymous account with a familiar Venom Madeline shadow. No doubt, orchestrating the smear from her condo. She'd flipped the script, painting him as the villain while her server crash erased his fight. The coffee shop's TV flickered to a local news channel. A perky anchor chirping about the scandal. Hamilton Prestige Motors targeted by alleged con artist Jordan Ellis, sources say. The manager, Madeline Burke, stands firm, calling it a malicious attack on her reputation. A clip rolled Madeline outside the dealership, her blazer pristine. Voice steady. This man tried to ruin us with lies, she said, her eyes flinty. We won't let him win. Jordan's mug shook in his hand, coffee sloshing onto the table. She'd taken his evidence, his momentum, and turned it into a weapon. Customers around him glanced over, whispering, their stares prickling his skin. He stepped outside, the city noise roaring in his ears, and called Malik from a payphone his cell was too hot now. She's got me trending as a fraud, he said, voice tight. Server crash wiped the recording. Clarence is her puppet. Malik cursed, loud enough to echo through the line. They're circling the wagons, man. That smear's no accident, her PR guy's working overtime. We're blind without that file. Jordan paced, his sneakers scuffing the sidewalk. Not blind, he said, his mind clicking into gear. I've got a hard copy of the contract signed, dated, locked in my safe. And I've got Greg. He's scared, but he'll talk. Malik grunted, that's thin. Clarence'll shred it, say it's forged too. We need more. Jordan stopped, staring at a billboard across the street, Hamilton Prestige's logo gleaming in gold. Then we get more, he said, a plan sparking. She thinks I'm down. Let her. I've got an ace she doesn't see. He hung up, the payphone clattering as he shoved his hands into his pockets. Madeline was gloating, her smear campaign drowning him in hate, but he'd kept something from her. Something she'd never expect. Back at the dealership, she'd locked her office, sipping Pinot and scrolling the chaos she'd unleashed. Her smirk wide. She'd crushed his power play, or so she thought. Jordan headed to his apartment, a modest spot in Midtown, and unlocked a safe bolted to the floor. Inside sat the original contract, ink still fresh, his signature bold next to hers. He'd scanned it before signing, a habit from years of dodging traps, and now it was his lifeline. But that wasn't the ace. Tucked beneath it was a USB drive, a backup of every call, every text, every move he'd made since walking into her showroom. He'd recorded her smug server crash taunt too, straight off his phone's mic. She'd buried the corporate copy, but he'd built his own vault. Madeline thought she'd outsmarted him, turned him into a pariah. She didn't know he was about to flip her whole world upside down. Jordan Ellis stood in his Midtown apartment, the faint hum of traffic filtering through the cracked window. As he clutched the USB drive in his fist, the contract and recordings inside were his arsenal, a ticking bomb Madeline Burke didn't see coming. She'd smeared him across X, turned him into a trending villain, and thought her server crash had erased his fight. But he'd played this game before quietly, carefully, and now it was time to strike. He slipped the drive into his pocket, grabbed his hoodie, and headed back to Hamilton Prestige Motors, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows over Buckhead's glitzy streets. Madeline was about to learn who she'd really crossed, and it wouldn't be pretty. The dealership's glass doors swung open, cool air washing over him as he stepped inside. The showroom gleamed, Porsches and Bentleys sparkling under soft lights, the scent of leather thick in the air. Greg was near the coffee station, pouring a cup with shaky hands, his curls damp with sweat. Madeline sat at her desk, flipping through a magazine, her platinum bun pristine, a smug little smile tugging at her lips. She didn't notice Jordan at first, too lost in her victory lap, but when his sneakers squeaked on the marble, her head snapped up, her pale blue eyes narrowed, then widened as he walked straight for her, his broad shoulders cutting through the room like a blade. You again, she spat, standing fast, her silk blazer rustling. I told you, you've got nothing. Jordan stopped a foot from her desk, his calm unshaken, and pulled out his phone. Wrong, he said, his voice low and lethal. I've got your call to Terry, Greg's confession, and now this. He played the latest clip, her own voice, smug and clear. Your little recording. It's dust. Technical glitch at corporate. Her smirk vanished, her hand twitching toward the diamond bracelet she always fiddled with when cornered. That's not me, she stammered, but the lie crumbled as Greg edged closer, nodding. It's her, he said, voice firm now. I was there. She said it. The staff froze. Jared dropped a pen. A receptionist's jaw slackened watching Madeline unravel. Before she could spin another excuse, the glass doors swung open again, and Elliot Gaines strode in. A 50-something man with graying hair and a navy suit so sharp it could cut glass. His polished loafers clicked with authority, his presence sucking the air out of the room. Jordan, he boomed, a grin splitting his face as he crossed the floor, hand outstretched. Was just about to call you, man. Jordan shook it, his grip firm, a faint smile breaking his stony facade. Good to see you too, Elliot, he said, smooth as silk. Madeline's knees buckled slightly, her brain scrambling to catch up. Wait, she croaked, her voice smaller now. You know him? Elliot turned to her, blinking like she'd asked if the sky was blue. Of course, he said, then gestured to Jordan with a flourish. Meet Jordan Ellis, the new CEO of Hamilton Prestige Motors. The words detonated, a silent shockwave rippling through the showroom. Greg gasped. Jared's key fob hit the floor, and the receptionist's coffee cup tipped, splashing brown across her desk. Madeline's face drained to a sickly white, her lips parting, but nothing coming out. Jordan just watched her, his dark eyes unreadable, letting the truth sink in like a blade between her ribs. Miss Burke, he said, his tone even, you just refused to sell a car to your new boss. The staff erupted, whispers turning to murmurs, some stifling laughs, others staring in wide-eyed shock. Madeline blinked rapidly, her hands clasping tight in front of her, nails digging into her palms. This can't be, she whispered. Then louder, this is a mistake. Elliot frowned, glancing between them. What's going on here? He asked, but Jordan cut in, his voice steady. I came in undercover, Elliot. Wanted to see how this place runs, how customers get treated. She sized me up, hoodie, sneakers, black, and decided I didn't belong. Shut me down, framed me for theft, smeared me online. All on tape. He tapped his pocket where the USB sat, a quiet threat. Madeline's chest heaved, her professional mask shattering as she stumbled back, her chair screeching against the floor. That's not true, she cried, her voice pitching high. I was protecting the dealership, our standards. He's twisting it. But Greg shook his head, stepping forward. She called me a liar too, he said. But I saw it all. She's been doing this for years, picking who gets service, who doesn't. Elliot's frown deepened, his jaw tightening. As he turned to Jordan, you've got proof? Jordan nodded, pulling the USB and contract from his pocket. Every word. Her calls, her taunts, her setup with the cop. Check it. Elliot took the drive, his fingers brushing the plastic like it was live ammo. This is bad, he muttered, then faced Madeline, his voice cold. You're done, Burke. Pack your shit and go. Her eyes bulged, a strangled sound escaping her throat. You can't fire me, she shrieked, slamming her hands on the desk. I built this place 20 years. Elliot, he's nobody. Jordan's lips curved. Just a flicker. Nobody who owns you now, he said. And she lunged forward, stopped, only by Elliot's raised hand. Out, he barked. Now, she staggered back, her breath ragged, then grabbed her purse and stormed toward the exit, her heels clacking like gunfire. The staff parted, silent, as she shoved through the doors, her blazer flapping behind her. Jordan watched her go, his pulse steady, victory humming in his veins. He'd torn her kingdom down, exposed her rot, and taken her throne in one swing. Elliot clapped his shoulder again. Hell of a first day, huh? He said, chuckling. Jordan nodded, but his eyes lingered on the doors. She'd lost everything, or so he thought. That night, Jordan parked the Range Rover he leased from impound outside his apartment, its engine purring soft as he cut it off. He stepped out, keys jangling, when a brick sailed through the dark, smashing his driver's side window. Glass sprayed across the pavement, glittering under the streetlights, and he ducked, heart slamming. Spray paint his-tread letters slashing across the hood. Go back where you came from. Footsteps pounded away, Fading into the shadows, Jordan straightened, his breath sharp, staring at the slur carved into his prize. Madeline's scent was all over this, her parting shot. A coward's revenge. She'd lost her job, her power. But she wasn't done fighting. He pulled out his phone, snapping photos of the wreckage. His jaw tight. The dealership was his now. But this war was far from over. Madeline wasn't just a manager, she was a snake. And she'd slithered away. To strike again. He climbed the stairs to his place, the USB still warm in his pocket, and locked the door behind him. She'd hit him hard, personal, but he'd hit back harder. Tomorrow, he'd start digging her allies, her dirt, her next move. She thought she could scare him off with a brick and some paint. She didn't know he'd been forged in fire tougher than this, and her tantrum was just the spark he needed to burn her world to ash. Jordan Ellis stood over the wreckage of his Range Rover, glass crunching beneath his sneakers as the streetlight flickered above. The red spray paint bled across the hood. Go back where you came from. A jagged scar left by Madeline Burke's spite. His pulse thumped steady, anger simmering beneath his calm exterior. As he snapped photos of the damage, the timestamp glowing on his phone, 11:47 at night. She'd lost her job, her throne, but this was her clawing back, a desperate jab from the shadows. He pocketed the device, the USB drive still tucked safe against his chest, and climbed into his apartment, locking the door with a heavy click. Sleep didn't come. He sat at his kitchen table, the contract and recordings spread out, plotting his next move. She'd gone low, he'd go lower. Morning broke over Buckhead, the sun glinting off. Hamilton Prestige Motors as Jordan arrived, his hoodie swapped for a crisp black button-up. The CEO's armor. Staff nodded warily, Greg pouring coffee, Jared polishing a Lexus still reeling from yesterday's upheaval. Jordan called Elliot Gaines from his new office, a sleek space Madeline once ruled, her perfume still lingering faintly. She trashed. "My car last night," he said, voice flat, forwarding the photos. Elliot cursed, his drawl sharp over the line. "That's her, all right. Vicious to the end. What's your play?" Jordan leaned back, the leather chair creaking. "She's not done. I'm hitting back, legal, public. All of it." Elliot sighed. "Careful, man. She's got friends." Jordan smirked. "Not enough." He filed a vandalism report with the cops, attaching the images, but didn't stop there. Madeline's firing gave him access to her old files, emails, client logs, years of dirt. He dug in, fingers flying over her keyboard, and struck gold, a thread from 2 years back. Her telling a sales rep to skip the dark ones unless they flash cash up front. Another from last summer, rejecting a black couple's financing on instinct. It was a pattern, a racist playbook she'd run for decades. Jordan printed it all, stacking the pages like ammo, then drafted a wrongful termination suit against her. She'd framed him, trashed his car, he'd bury her in court. Madeline wasn't idle. Holed up in a downtown hotel, her condo now a crime. Seen from her own tantrum, she dialed Judge Raymond Voss, a weary 60-year-old with a comb-over and a gavel she'd greased for years. "Ray," she purred, pacing the carpet. "I need a favor. Ellis sued me, wrongful termination. Defamation. Some nonsense about my car stunt. Shut it down." Voss chuckled, his voice raspy. "You're a mess, Maddie, but I owe you. I'll take the case. Evidence'll vanish faster than a cheap suit." She grinned, pouring a vodka from the minibar. "Knew I could count on you." By noon, her suit was filed, claiming Jordan fired her out of personal bias. Backed by Voss's crooked nod, the media pounced. Local news ran split-screen shots Jordan exiting the precinct. Madeline tearful outside the dealership, fired. Manager fights back. The ticker blared, painting her as a victim of a vindictive new CEO. X lit up with her narrative. Ellis abuses power, silences veteran employee. Her anonymous bots fueled it. Hashtags like #justice for Madeline trending by dusk. Jordan watched it unfold from his office, the TV muted, his stomach churning. She'd flipped the script again, her judge in her pocket, and now the public was swallowing her lies whole. He mailed his evidence to a lawyer friend, Tara Miles, a sharp-eyed woman who'd toppled bigger snakes. "She's got Voss," he told her. "We need this public." Tara moved fast, leaking Madeline's emails to a local blog raw, unfiltered proof of her racist gatekeeping. By morning, the story shifted. Burke's bigotry exposed, CEO targeted in revenge plot. The blog's hits soared, comments raging against her, and Jordan's lawsuit gained teeth. Madeline's phone buzzed with alerts. Her hotel room a cage of spilled vodka and crumpled takeout boxes. "What the hell?" she snarled, scrolling the leaks, her diamond bracelet clinking as she hurled the device at the wall. Voss called, voice tight. "You're past's out, Maddie. I can't bury this much," she screamed into the void, her plan cracking, but she wasn't out yet. Jordan pressed the advantage, calling a press conference outside the dealership. Cameras flashed as he stood tall, the trashed Range Rover towed in as a prop, its slur glaring under the sun. "Madeline Burke didn't just frame me," he said, voice steady, holding up the printed emails. "She built a career on shutting out people like me. This ends now." The crowd, reporters, locals. A few protesters murmured, phones recording every word. The story blew up. National outlets picking it up. CEO fights racist ex-manager. Her countersuit weakened, Voss sweating as Tara filed to disqualify him, citing old favors. Madeline's hotel TV blared her downfall, her name mud. Her next move was chaos. Fired and cornered. She hired goons, 3 burly guys with shaved heads and swastika tattoos, to picket the dealership. They marched at dawn, signs screaming "Ellis out" and "White Jobs Matter," their boots stomping the sidewalk. Customers fled, sales tanked, and Jordan watched from his window, jaw tight. Greg Burston, breathless. "They're scaring everyone off. She's behind this." Jordan nodded, snapping photos of the thugs, their ink a dead giveaway. "Call the cops," he said. "This is harassment." Sirens wailed 30 minutes later, dispersing the mob. But the damage was done. Sales floors empty, staff rattled. Madeline gloated on TV that night, a rogue interview on a fringe channel. "Ellis can't handle the heat," she sneered, her blazer wrinkled, eyes wild. "He's unfit. Look at his dealership now. I'd have kept it thriving." Jordan watched. From his apartment, the USB spinning between his fingers. She'd tanked his business. Her picketers a gut punch, but he wasn't broken. He dug deeper into her files, cross-referencing names: Voss, Clarence Holt, a dozen others. A pattern emerged: payoffs, favors, a network of bigots shielding her. He emailed Tara, found her web. "We hit them all," she replied, fast, risky, but game-changing. "Let's do it." By week's end, the dealership shut temporarily, glass doors locked, the lot a ghost town. Madeline's pickets had bled him dry. Daily losses hit 5 figures, staff quitting from the chaos. She'd unleashed retribution, her judge and goons, striking hard, and the media war teetered on her lies. Jordan paced his office, the trashed Range Rover's keys in hand, his mind racing. She thought she'd crippled him, left him limping and alone, but he'd mapped her allies, her dirt piling higher than she could bury. This wasn't over, it was personal now, and he'd turn her chaos into his checkmate. She'd rue the day. She swung that brick, because retribution was coming, and it wore his face. Jordan Ellis sat in his emptied office at Hamilton Prestige Motors, the silence deafening where the hum of sales once thrived. The glass doors stayed locked, the lot a barren stretch of asphalt. Madeline Burke's picketers having scared off every customer with their racist chants and stomping. Boots. Sunlight streamed through the windows, glinting off a framed photo of the Range Rover before her brick, and paint turned it into a battle scar. His phone buzzed with Tara Miles's number, her voice crackling through when he answered. "The email leak worked," she said, sharp and urgent. "Madeline's history's viral, black clients blocked, deals rigged, her suit's crumbling. We've got her." Jordan's lips twitched, a flicker of hope sparking. "Good," he said, leaning back in the leather chair. "Let's finish this." He reopened the dealership that morning, steeling himself for a fight. Staff trickled back, Greg with a nervous grin, Jared clutching his key fobs like talismans, and a small crowd gathered outside. Not picketers but supporters, locals who'd seen the blog, read the emails, held signs. Justice for Jordan, end the hate. Cameras rolled as he stepped out, his black button-up crisp against the chaos, and spoke. "This isn't just my stand, he said, voice steady, holding up Madeline's printed bigotry. It's for everyone she shut out. We're back, and she's done. Cheers erupted. A wave of noise washing over the lot, and sales ticked up too. SUVs moved by noon. Hope glimmered, fragile but real. Madeline watched from her hotel room, the TV blaring Jordan's speech, her vodka glass trembling in her grip. The blog had gutted her quotes from her emails plastered everywhere, X ablaze with hashtag Madeline exposed. Her countersuit teetered, Judge Voss texting, too hot to touch now. She hurled the remote, plastic cracking against the wall, and dialed. Clarence Holt, her old exec savior. Fix this, she hissed, pacing the stained carpet. He's winning, get Voss back in line. Clarence sighed, his voice gravelly. You're toxic, Maddie. Voss won't risk it unless we hit harder. She smirked, wild-eyed. Then hit him, make it hurt. By dusk, a warrant landed Voss, cornered but loyal. Claimed Jordan bribed Greg and Tara to falsify evidence. Cops swarmed Jordan's midtown apartment, battering the door down at 7 sharp, their flashlights slicing through the dark. He was home, cooking dinner with his wife, Lena, a petite woman with tight curls and a 7-month baby bump. Hands up, an officer bellowed, gun drawn. As plates crashed to the floor, Lena screamed, clutching her belly while Jordan raised his arms slow, his jaw tight. What's this? He demanded. But they shoved him against the wall, cuffs snapping on. Bribery, fraud, judge's orders, a cop barked, tossing drawers, smashing a lamp. The USB and contract vanished into an evidence bag, his lifeline yanked away. News vans parked outside, cameras catching every second. Jordan in cuffs again. Lena sobbing on the stoop, her floral dress clinging to her swollen frame. CEO Ellis raided in bribery scandal. The ticker screamed, live feeds showing cops hauling boxes from his home. Madeline's hand was clear. She'd flipped the narrative, her smear machine roaring back to life. 10 lit up, Ellis caught lying, bots amplifying her lie that he'd paid off witnesses. The raid aired nationwide, his supporters faltering. The dealership's brief revival snuffed out. Greg called, voice shaking. They're saying I took cash, none of it's true. Jordan, in the squad car, growled, she's desperate. We'll prove it. Lena collapsed an hour later, stress spiking her blood pressure. An ambulance rushing her to Grady Memorial. Jordan sat in a precinct cell, fists clenched. When Tara burst in, her braids swinging, eyes blazing. They've got nothing real, she said, slamming a file down. Voss's warrants, flimsy claims you bribed me with 50 grand. Greg with 20. No proof, just her word. Jordan's breath hitched. Lena's in the hospital, he said, voice cracking. This is her doing. Tara's face hardened. Then we go nuclear. She wants war. She gets it. He nodded, fury igniting. Madeline had struck his family, his unborn kid, and that was a line she'd pay for crossing. Madeline surfaced on a late-night stream, her blazer swapped for a sweater, playing the wounded martyr. Ellis framed me, she lied, voice quivering for effect. And now he's bribing people to keep me down. Look at his raid, guilty as sin. The host, a greasy-haired shock jock, nodded along, her words hitting 20,000 viewers. Live, she leaned back, sipping tea, a twisted grin breaking through her act. Lena's hospital trip was icing she'd heard via cop pal, and Jordan's empire was crumbling again. He's finished, she muttered, the stream chat erupting. With her planted trolls, lock him up. Jordan got bail by morning. Tara's legal wrangling prying him loose, but the damage was done. He raced to Grady, finding Lena in a sterile room, monitors beeping, her face pale against the pillow. Baby's fine, she whispered, gripping his hand. But I was so scared. He kissed her forehead, guilt and rage choking him. She did this, he said, voice low. I'm ending her. Back home, the apartment trashed, couch slashed, photos shattered. He sifted through the wreckage. The cops had his USB, but he'd synced it to a cloud drive, a move Madeline couldn't touch. He booted his laptop, pulling up Voss's financial shears of gifts from her, buried in shell accounts. Tara met him at a diner, her laptop glowing with the same data. Voss took 10 grand from her last year alone, she said, pointing at bank logs. "We leaked this. He's off the case, her suit's dead." Jordan nodded, his coffee untouched, mind racing. "Do it, and find Clarence's dirt. She's not alone in this." Tara grinned, fierce, on it. By noon, the leak hit new blog post. Judge Voss paid off by Burke, with receipts. Voss's phone blew up, his clerk scrambling, and the warrant unraveled. Bribery charges dismissed by 3. Madeline's hotel TV flickered to the update, her teacup shattering on the floor. "No," she hissed, fists pounding the table. Jordan stood outside the dealership, reopened again. A small crew clapping as he cut a ribbon defiance in every snip. But his eyes burned. Lena's hospital bed seared into his brain. Madeline had shattered his glimmer of hope, turned his win into a nightmare. Her press lies and cop-rated dagger to his family. She gloated on her stream, thinking she'd crushed him, but he'd flipped her game. Voss was out, her suit toast, and he had Clarence in his sights. She'd hit his wife, his kid. He'd hit her soul. This wasn't just business anymore. It was vengeance, and he'd wield it like a sledgehammer. Jordan Ellis stood in the hospital parking lot, the midday sun scorching the asphalt as he hung up with Tara Miles, her voice still ringing in his ears. Voss's out-bribery leak worked. Case dismissed, relief surged, sharp and fleeting. As he glanced at Lena's room window on the 5th floor, her silhouette safe behind glass. Madeline Burke's raid had nearly cost him his wife and unborn kid. But exposing Judge Voss's payoffs had flipped the script. Her countersuit was dead, her lies unraveling. He climbed into a rental sedan, the trashed Range Rover still in impound, and gunned it back to Buckhead. She'd hit his family, he'd hit her empire. At Hamilton Prestige Motors, the mood-lifted staff buzzed, polishing hoods with renewed grit, customers trickling in past the ribbon Jordan had cut yesterday. Greg grinned, slapping his back. "You did it, man, her suit's toast." Jordan nodded, his black button-up crisp despite the chaos, and headed to his office. Tara's leak had torched Madeline's Repex, flipped from #Justice for Madeline to #Burke Lies. Blogs hailing him as a hero, taking down a racist relic. Sales ticked up, a Porsche sold by noon, the lot humming again. He leaned back, the leather chair creaking, a rare smile tugging at his lips. Could justice really claw its way through the muck? Drop a 1 in the comments if you think Jordan's finally turning the tide. Madeline, holed up in her hotel, saw it to her TV blaring his victory. Her vodka bottle empty on the nightstand. Her blonde bun sagged, strands loose like her grip on reality, as she scrolled X. Rage boiling at the hate now aimed her way. "Hero," she spat, hurling a lamp at the screen. Glass shattering, she dialed Clarence Holt, her last lifeline, voice shrill. "He's winning." "Clarence," Voss bailed. "Do something." Clarence's bourbon drawl crackled back. "Calm down, Maddie. I've got a guy IRS contact. We'll frame him for tax fraud. Freeze him out." She smirked. "Wild-eyed. Make it fast. By dusk." The trap was set. Clarence's pal planted fake filings, claiming Jordan dodged millions in taxes. The IRS hit like a hurricane. Agents stormed the dealership at 3, suits crisp, badges flashing. AS Jordan briefed staff on a new sales push. Jordan Ellis, a weary agent, barked, shoving a warrant in his face. Assets, frozen, tax evasion, 10 years back. Jordan's stomach dropped, his staff gaping as agents taped off his office, seizing laptops, files, even the coffee maker. "This is bullshit," he snapped, but they boxed up his desk. The USB's cloud link useless with his accounts locked. Customers bolted, Greg stammering. "What's happening?" Jordan's jaw tightened. "Her," he said, picturing Madeline's grin. "Ever wonder how deep the system's claws go? Comment too if you're pissed the IRS got dragged into this." News vans swarmed, choppers buzzing overhead, live feeds screaming. CEO Ellis in tax fraud bust. X flipped again, Ellis exposed thief after all. Madeline's bots fueled it. Her hotel TV glowing with his downfall. She cackled, pouring cheap gin. Her sweater stained with yesterday's rage. The dealership shut cold, staff quit in droves, Jared tossing his keys, muttering, "This place is cursed." Losses piled. $20,000 a day. The lot a ghost town once more. Jordan raced home, finding Lena discharged, pale on the couch. They froze our savings. She whispered, clutching his hand. How do we fight this? Should a man lose everything for standing up? Drop a 3 if you think Jordan's paying too high a price. Tara met him at a dive bar that night, neon buzzing over sticky tables. Clarence pulled this, she said, slamming bank logs Holtz transfers to the IRS guy, buried in shell companies. They faked your filings dates, you weren't. Even in Georgia, Jordan's coffee shook, rage simmering. She's bleeding me dry, Lena, the baby, the business. Tara's eyes blazed. We've got her emails, Voss's payoffs, now this. Leak it all. He nodded, fierce. Yeah, and find her money, she's hiding something. Tara grinned, cracking her knuckles on it. By morning, the blog dropped. Burke's tax frame-up CEO targeted again, with Clarence's dirt splashed raw, X shifted. Hashtag Holt exposed trending, but the IRS held firm, accounts still iced. Madeline resurfaced on a podcast, a slick-haired host nodding as she spun her tale. Ellis is a fraud, tax cheat, liar, ruined a good dealership, she said, her voice steady. Sweater swap for a blazer again. I tried to save it. The Mick caught her smirk. 30,000 listeners eating it up, her bots chanting. Burke was right. She leaned back, sipping water, victory tasting sweet. Jordan watched from his trashed apartment, TV muted, Lena asleep beside him. She'd turned his counterattack into a noose, business gone, savings locked, his name. Mud again. How do you fight a ghost pulling strings from the dark? Comment 4 if you're betting on Jordan to claw back. He dug into Madeline's files, sent from her old office before the raid. His laptop glowing in the dim room. Clarence's name popped off shore accounts. Cayman Islands. Link to her email. Wire 10 grand. Keep it quiet. Jordan's. Pulse raced, she'd stashed millions, untaxed, a fortune to fund her war. He mailed Tara, found her cash, drain it. She cracked it by dawn. Hacking the accounts with a tech pal to $1 million rerouted to anti-racism charities. Anonymous gone. Madeline woke to a bank alert. Funds depleted. She screamed. Trashing the hotel room, her last weapon. Snatched. Can money vanish faster than pride? Drop a 5 if you're cheering her broke ass. The IRS eased off by noon. Clarence's leak spooked them. Audit stalling. Accounts thawing slow. Jordan walked the dealership lot. Reopened on a shoestring. A single sale limping through. Tara called. She's arrested, tax evasion. Offshore scam. Clarence too. He exhaled. Relief bitter, his empire teetered. Staff scarce. But her cell door clanged shut. She'd faltered. Her frame up crumbling. Yet the scars lingered. Lena's fear. His ruined name. He'd won this round. But at what cost? How much can one man endure before he breaks? Comment 6 if you think Jordan's still got fight left. Hit like if you're raging with him. And subscribe for the next blow in this saga. So, what's brewing in Jordan's soul now? Will he rebuild from the ashes, or has Madeline's last gasp left cracks too deep to mend? Picture him on that empty lot, keys jingling. Clarence's arrest fresh. Does he chase her to the end? Or brace for her next strike from behind bars? Could a new foe rise from her wreckage? Or is this his moment to stand tall? Toss your thoughts below. This fight's far from over. Jordan Ellis stood on the edge of Hamilton Prestige Motors lot. The late afternoon sun casting long shadows over the handful of cars left unsold. The air smelled of gasoline and fresh asphalt, a faint breeze stirring the ribbon scraps from his last reopening. Madeline Burke was behind bars, her offshore millions drained into charity. Her tax evasion rap sticking. Clarence Holt cuffed beside her in a matching cell. The IRS had backed off, his accounts thawing, and the dealership limped along, a skeleton crew pushing a single Lexus out the door that day. Jordan's black button-up clung to his sweat-damp skin, his victory bitter but real. He'd turned the tables, flipped her game, and watched her empire crumble. Or so he thought. Tara Miles pulled up in her beat-up Civic, braids swinging as she stepped out, a laptop under her arm. She's locked up tight, she said, grinning fierce. No bail judge saw the Cayman accounts, flipped out. Clarence to singing like a bird to cut a deal. Jordan nodded, his jaw loosening for the first time in days. Good, he said, glancing at the dealership's glass facade, its reflection warped, but standing. Lena's home. Resting. We're clawing back. Tara slapped his shoulder. You're a damn legend, man. X is calling you the CEO who fought back. Sales'll rebound, give it time. He exhaled, the weight lifting, and headed inside to rally the crew. Greg, Jared, a few holdouts vowing to rebuild brick. By dusk, the lot hummed again. A cautious pulse to more cars sold, locals trickling in. Drawn by his story, news vans lingered, cameras catching his stride. Ticker scrolling, Ellis cleared. Burke jail, justice prevails. He stood at his office window, sipping water. The trashed Range Rover's keys on his desk, a quiet trophy. The Cloud Drive his. USP's mirror sat secure, a fortress of proof she couldn't touch. He called Lena, her voice soft over the line. Proud of you, she said, and he smiled, picturing her curled on their couch, the baby kicking. The tables had turned, he was king again, her reign ash. But Madeline wasn't done. In a Fulton County cell, her orange jumpsuit clashed with her platinum bun, now frayed and loose. She paced the concrete, her mind a wasp nest, when a guard slipped her a burner phone favor from an old cop pal. She dialed quick, voice low. Cousin Ray, she hissed. It's me. Ellis thinks he's one hit him hard. Ray, a hulking skinhead with a spiderweb tattoo creeping up his neck, grunted back. Got it. Maddie, he's dead meat. She smirked, tossing the phone under her bunk. Jail couldn't stop her, she'd claw him down from hell itself. Ray struck at midnight. Jordan was locking up, the lot dark save for a flickering street lamp. When tires screeched, a rusted pickup roared in, 3 figures piling out. Ray, and 2 goons, shaved heads gleaming, boots thudding. Ellis, Ray, bellowed, a crowbar swinging in his fist. Jordan spun, keys dropping, as the first blow smashed his shoulder, pain exploding white hot. He ducked the next swing, slamming Ray against a Mercedes, glass cracking, but the goons grabbed him, fists, raining ribs, jaw, gut. Blood slit the pavement, his vision blurring as Ray sneered, "This is from Maddie, you bastard." They left him crumpled in an alley behind the lot, his breaths ragged, the night swallowing their taillights. Greg found him at dawn, blood pooling under Jordan's head, and yelled for help. An ambulance screeched in, paramedics hauling him onto a stretcher, his pulse faint but stubborn. Lena rushed to Grady Memorial, sobbing as doctors stitched him. Broken ribs, cracked jaw, a leg twisted bad. Might not walk right again, a surgeon muttered, setting the limb in plaster. Jordan woke hours later, tubes snaking from his arm. Pain, a dull roar. Lena gripped his hand, tears streaking her face. "Who did this?" she whispered. "Her," he rasped, fury burning through the morphine haze. "Her damn family." Madeline hit the airwaves that night, smuggled onto a prison streamed podcast, her voice smug through static. "Ellis got what he deserved," she said, chuckling dark. "Karma's a bitch, mess with me, you bleed." The host, a gravel-voiced inmate, egged her on, 20,000 listeners lapping it up. "He's weak, look at him now, limping." And broke. She leaned into the mic, her grin audible. "Should have stayed down." X flared her bots, chanting Ellis down. Real folks split between shock and rage. Jordan watched from his hospital bed, TV flickering, Lena asleep beside him, her hands still in his. She'd twisted the tables back, her cousin's fists her new weapon. Tara stormed in at sunrise, laptop glowing with security footage, grainy but clear. Ray's pickup, his tattooed arm swinging the crowbar. "Cops have this," she said, eyes blazing. Linked it to her call. Guard ratted her out for a plea. "She's cooked." Jordan nodded, jaw wired shut, pain spiking with every breath. "Expose it," he mumbled through clenched teeth. Tara leaked it by noon. Burke ordered CEO beating from jail, footage looping online. Ray's snarl. Jordan's fall. X flipped hard, hashtag Madeline monster trending, her podcast fans peeling away. Outrage boiling. Cops hauled Ray in by dusk, his goons snitching faster orders, her hate, all laid bare. The DA tacked assault and conspiracy onto her rap sheet, her bail a distant dream now. Jordan's leg throbbed, doctors muttering about pins and rehab, but he gripped the betrayal. Eyes steel, the dealership chugged on, Greg stepping up, a trickle of sales defying the chaos. Madeline's tables had turned, she was buried deeper. Her cousin's fists her undoing, but as dusk fell, a shadow lingered, her venom still alive. Twisting even from a cage, he'd won again, tables flipped, yet the cost carved into his bones told him this war wasn't dead. Jordan Ellis lay in his hospital bed at Grady Memorial. The beep of monitors, a steady drumbeat against the dull roar of pain in his shattered leg. Plaster encased it from ankle to thigh, a jagged scar snaking up his jaw where Ray's crowbar had landed. Lena sat beside him, her swollen belly resting against the chair's edge, her fingers tracing his bruised hand. The TV flickered mute, Madeline Burke's smug podcast face frozen mid-laugh. She'd ordered the hit, gloated about his blood on the pavement, but Tara's leak had flipped it. Ray was cuffed, her charges piling, and Jordan's chest burned. With a fire hotter than the morphine could touch, she'd aimed to break him. He'd break her first. He pushed himself up, wincing as ribs protested, and grabbed his phone from the bedside table. "Tara," he rasped when she answered, voice thick through his wired jaw. "Link Ray to her hard evidence." "And this?" Tara's reply crackled sharp. "Already on it." "Got the guard's confession, her calls logged, burners traced." DAS drooling over it. Jordan nodded, a grim smile tugging at his split lip. He'd turned her cousin's fists into her noose, and now he'd tighten it. Lena squeezed his hand. "Eyes fierce, make her pay," she whispered, and he vowed. It's silently, every bruise, every tear, she'd choke on. By noon, the DA moved Madeline's bail revoked, her cell shrinking as conspiracy and assault charges stacked like bricks. Tara burst in, laptop underarm, her braids swinging, Ray's singing. She said, eyes glinting, says she promised him 10 grand to cripple the bastard. Cops found her bank transfers sloppy, rushed. She's done. Jordan exhaled, the weight shifting, and leaned back, the plaster creaking. "Leak it," he said. "Let the world see." Tara's fingers flew, and by dusk, the blog screamed. Burke paid skinhead cousin to maim CEO caught on tape. X erupted hashtag Madeline Monster morphing to hashtag jail her forever. Her podcast fans scattering like roaches in daylight. The dealership clawed back. Greg stepping up as interim manager, his freckled hands steady on the wheel. A trickle of sales 3. Cars by weeks and breathed life into the lot. Locals rallying behind Jordan's fight. He watched from his bed via FaceTime, Greg's shaky grin filling the screen. "We're holding, boss," he said. "Folks are buying again, say they're with you." Jordan's chest swelled, pride cutting through the ache. He'd rebuilt from ash before. He'd do it again, leg or no leg. Lena smiled, rubbing her belly. "Told you you're unstoppable," she said, and he believed it for a moment. Madeline stood in her cell, orange jumpsuit wrinkled, her platinum hair a tangled mess. The burner was gone, her guard flipped, and Ray's snitching echoed through the block. She paced, nails bitten raw, when a weary inmate, Trish, slipped her a note. "Crew's ready, say the word." Trish's brother ran a gangitude brutes, who'd kill for a pack of smokes. Madeline scribbled back, "Take him out now." She'd lost her money, her power, but her hate burned hotter than ever. Jordan thought he'd buried her. She'd bury him in blood. Friday night, Jordan crutched into his office for a live stream, his first public move since the attack. The dealership glowed behind him, a skeleton crew waving, the lot half full. "I'm still here," he said, voice rough but firm, leaning on a cane Tarad brought, its ebony handle cool in his grip. "Madeline tried to kill me, her cousin. Her orders. She's locked up, but we're rising." The feed hit 10,000 viewers, comments flooding support, rage, hope. Greg adjusted the camera, proud, when glass shattered downstairs. Shots rang out, sharp and wild, the stream jerking as Jordan dropped, pain searing his leg. Gunmen stormed in 3 of Trish's crew, masks tight, pistols blazing. Bullets punched the walls, glass raining as Greg tackled Jordan behind the desk, his breath ragged. "Stay down," he yelled, blood trickling from a grazed arm. The stream caught it all, muzzle flashes, screams, the thugs' voices barking. "Where's Ellis? Waste him." Jordan grabbed a paperweight, hurling it at one, cracking a mask. The guy stumbled, firing wide, and Jordan rolled, cane swinging, tripping another. The third lunged, gun jamming. Greg slammed a chair into his back, dropping him cold. Sirens wailed outside, cops flooding in, cuffs snapping as the stream hit 50,000. Chaos lived for the world. Jordan sat up, blood streaking his shirt knot. Greg's leg throbbing, cane bent. The gunmen snarled racist slurs as cops dragged them out. She said you don't belong. The feed looped their hate, exploding hashtag Madeline murder trending. Her prison plot bared raw. Tara raced in, breathless, laptop open. Phone logs from Trish Madeline's notes seized. DA's got her cold. Jordan nodded, chest heaving. The live stream still rolling, his face bruised but unbroken. Show it, he said. And Tara uploaded the proof for scrawled order, the call, the gang's ties. The world saw her last gasp, her hate unmasked. By morning, Madeline's charges tripled: attempted murder, racketeering, her cell a tomb. The DA roared on TV, she's finished decades. No parole. Jordan watched from a wheelchair, Lena beside him. Dealership staff clapping as he rolled in. Sales spiked 10 cars that day, his reforms kicking in. Fair hiring, no gatekeeping. A sign out front, open to all. He dodged her bullets, turned her final blow into his shield. Her hate a megaphone for his rise. But as night fell, a shadow moved outside his office window, a flicker, gone fast. Trisha's crew was down, but her reach lingered, a whisper of more to come. He gripped his cane, eyes steel. He'd won this round, but the war's end loomed fragile and fierce. Jordan Ellis rolled his wheelchair across Hamilton Prestige Motors showroom, the morning sun glinting off polished chrome, his cane resting across his lap. The air buzzed with life, sales staff buzzing, engines purring as customers signed. Deals, the lot alive with 10 cars sold yesterday alone. His leg throbbed under the plaster, a souvenir from Madeline Burke's skinhead ambush, but he'd dodged her bullets, turned her prison hit into his triumph. Lena was home, safe with their unborn kid, and the dealership's sign, open to all, stood proud out front. He'd traced her cell call, linked it to Trisha's crew, and buried her deeper attempted murder charges, now a life sentence. Looming, victory tasted sharp, forged in blood and grit. But his eyes flicked to that shadow from last night, a fleeting chill he couldn't shake. Tara Miles strode in, her laptop glowing with the final nail. Prison logs, she said, setting it on his desk, her braids swinging. Madeline's call to Trish timestamped, recorded. Guard flipped, gave us everything. DA's pushing for no parole. Jordan scanned the transcript, her voice venomous. Take him out now. His jaw tightened, the wired ache flaring, but he nodded. Good. Leak it, let her rot in the open. Tara grinned, fierce, and uploaded it by noon. Burke's death order, CEO targeted from cell. Ignited # Madeline done trending. Her last supporters vanishing, the world raging as her reckoning closed in. The DA moved fast. By dusk, a Fulton County courtroom buzzed, Madeline in orange, her platinum hair a greasy tangle, hands cuffed as the judge's stern black woman named Harris read the litany. Tax evasion, conspiracy, assault, attempted murder. Raised testimony, Trisha's note, the gunmen's slurs all piled like stones. You're a blight. Harris snapped, gavel poised, life, no parole. Madeline's scream echoed, Ron Farrell. As guards dragged her out, her eyes locking. On a TV screen in the hall, airing Jordan's live stream, his bruised face, unbowed. She'd die in that cage, her empire dust, and he'd made damn sure of it. Jordan watched the verdict from his office, TV muted, Greg clapping his shoulder. She's gone. Boss really gone. Sales hit 15 that day, the lot packed, locals chanting his name outside. He rebuilt new hires, no gatekeeping. A fund for black entrepreneurs seated with her drained millions. The Range Rover, repainted, sat in his garage, scars hidden, but not forgotten. Lena called, voice bright. Baby's kicking hard today, she said, and he smiled, the first real one in weeks. He'd turned her final blow into his crown, a scarred king atop a reborn kingdom. But as night fell, Tara slipped him a memo from Madeline's old files, unearthed in the chaos of faded email, cryptic, dated 5 years back. Framed another one. It read, signed MB, sent to Clarence. Below, a name, Marcus Tate. A black exec fired from a sister dealership, vanished after misconduct claims. Jordan's gut twisted. Madeline's pattern stretched beyond. Him, another ghost she'd crushed and buried. He leaned back, the chair creaking, the memo trembling in his hand. She was done, dying in prison. Her network shattered. Clarence locked up, Voss disgraced. Trish's crew cuffed, but Marcus lingered, a loose thread. A man he'd never met yet felt tied to. Tara, he said, voice low. Find him. He's out there. She nodded, eyes sharp, on it. He crouched outside, the Atlanta skyline glowing gold. The dealership thriving under his reforms. Staff waved. A new salesman, a young black guy named Devin, grinning as he closed a deal. Jordan stood tall, cane steady, scars mapping his fight, ribs that ached, a jaw that clicked, a leg that might never run. He'd beaten her, dismantled her hate, but Marcus's name burned, a question unanswered. I'll get you justice too, he muttered, limping toward his rental sedan. The city humming around him. The reckoning had come. Madeline's end. His rise, but it left a shadow, a vow to hunt her other sins, a war not fully won. Back in her cell, Madeline sat alone, the concrete cold, her screams spent. The TV blared outside. Jordan's face, his voice, his victory, and she clawed the wall, nails snapping, blood streaking. She'd lost everything: money, power, freedom, her cousin a snitch, her goons caged. Her hate had fueled her, but it had burned her alive, and now she'd rot, a footnote to his legend. Jordan drove home, the memo on the seat, Marcus's name a beacon. He'd crushed one head of the Hydra, her racism, her system, but others lurked, and he'd find them, limping or not. This was his city now, his fight, and the sunset promised more battles ahead. Undercover boss. Unleashed fury isn't just a tale of revenge, it's a raw blueprint of resilience against systemic hate. Jordan Ellis's journey teaches us that racism doesn't always shout. Sometimes it sneers from behind polished desks or rigged systems, like Madeline Burke's smug gatekeeping at Hamilton Prestige Motors. Her refusal to see Jordan's worth, based solely on his blackness and hoodie, mirrors the quiet biases we all might face or worse harbor. What's the lesson? Assumptions can blind you, and underestimating someone's fight can topple your world. Jordan didn't just survive her traps, fake arrests, smears, brutal ambushes. He turned them into weapons, exposing her rot with every counterpunch. But victory came at a cost. His scars, Lena's terror, the dealership's fragility. Racism's toll isn't cheap. It's a reminder that standing up often means bleeding for it. Yet silence costs more. Jordan's grit shows that intelligence and persistence can dismantle even the deepest power webs. From crooked cops to offshore millions, Madeline's downfall proves hate festers in cowardice. She struck from shadows, jail cells, never face to face, and lost everything to her own venom. The real kicker? Marcus Tate's ghost, proof this isn't one battle, but a war against a Hydra with endless heads. So, what sticks? Fight smart, not just hard. Call out the Burkes in your life, but brace for their fangs. Systemic racism doesn't die easy. Jordan's triumph is inspiration. One man can shift a tide, but only if he refuses to break. Now, your turn. How do you face down bias when it's personal? Drop your thoughts below. Comment if you've fought a Madeline, like if Jordan's win fires you up. Subscribe for more racism stories that hit deep. Share if you're ready to spark change. Thanks for riding this roller coaster with us. Here's to courage, justice, and a world that learns. Stay fierce, y'all.